Wellington sees the beginning of an informal, new-style royal tour as His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh strolls through close, welcoming crowds with the City Mayor, Mr. F.J. Kitts. It's 3 years since he first toured New Zealand with Her Majesty. He's back for a week to study the country at close quarters, seeing industry and meeting people. On the slopes of Mount Victoria, a lookout is kept for the arrival of the royal party. With Works Chairman of the City Council and City Engineer, he looks over Wellington. He sees where the Rongotai Airport project is changing the contour of the Miramar Peninsula and gets a good view of the crowded and hill-bound commercial heart of the city. First look at New Zealand's primary production comes at the Gear Meat Company's freezing works at Petone. In the slaughterhouse, he moves along a high-speed chain, watching each stage in the preparation of the carcass for New Zealand and overseas markets. He hears about the job from the men who do it, the regular hands and the students working here in their vacations. Photographers find some very meaty shots. He learns about the technique of pre-packing joints of meat, the new method of export. Back in the city, watersiders sheltering from rain watch the Duke as he arrives to see loading of cheese and meat for the United Kingdom into the holds of the Highness. Despite the rain, the Duke inspects the cargo-crammed holds before moving on his way again. At New Zealand's giant industrial concern, the pulp and paper mill at Kawarau, His Royal Highness is shown stages in the transformation of tall pines from the Kaingaroa forest into newsprint and timber for the country's newest export industry. Wanting to see things for himself, he takes an unscheduled ride in the cab of a monster travelling crane above huge stacks of timber, product of the most modern mill in the Commonwealth. From growth to power. Among the screaming heads of steam at Wairaki, the Duke is told about the project that will bring power from geothermal steam into farm and factory. A guard of honor formed from 100 secondary school cadets moves to a crisp present as the royal visitor arrives at Mount Albert Grammar to spend an afternoon with the youth of Auckland. In a packed dining hall, he lunches with 60 prefects who represent all schools in the Auckland area. With quips and smiles, he soon puts his young hosts at ease. Outside, hundreds of young athletes, the cream performers of Auckland schools, turn on a mass display of sports for the visitor. Precision and grace are the features of the water ballet. With a friendly smile, he moves easily among the young people. Rhythmic dancing is a sidelight to the athletics. And the Duke is the highlight for all, particularly for one shy young high jumper. In Auckland City, Christmas shoppers in holiday mood line the streets to greet the Duke on his ceremonial drive. At Lyttelton is Endeavour, ready to depart south with New Zealand's Antarctic team. With expedition leader Sir Edmund Hillary, team members are introduced to the Duke. Aboard, he meets the ship's company and inspects the deck cargo, taking particular interest in the tractors which will have to weather icy conditions with New Zealand's first Antarctic expedition. On a Canterbury farm, the Duke gets closer to the source of the Dominion's primary production. And on another farm, there's a display organised by the agricultural aviation industry. As world pioneers in aerial farming technique, they have reason to show with pride their planes and expert flyers. Taking to the air at the rate of 1 a minute, they trail their white plumes over the hillsides. Undaunted by the wind and rain, the Duke watches with interest the methods that are bringing hill country all over the Dominion into production for the world market. Miles to the east of the mainland, the tiny population of New Zealand's remote Chatham Islands is preparing for the first ever visit of a member of the royal family. Welcome matting is nailed on the wharf. The stuff which celebrations are made on is unloaded from a calling coaster. And on the island racecourse, a hangee is prepared for the visitor. A novel sight in the Chathams, where ships are few and far between, the royal yacht Britannia anchors offshore. Within minutes, the Duke's barge pulls into the wharf. The day begins with a public welcome. Almost the entire population of 500 is there to greet the Duke. Visitors are rare in these islands at any time, and a royal one is an event in several lifetimes. Land Rovers, the Rolls Royces of the Chathams, take the royal party on a quick inspection of the windswept countryside. It's on his own request that the Duke is visiting this lonely and isolated part of New Zealand's territory, which once, before Pakeha settlement, was the last stronghold of the Maori race. Now the population farms the land for sheep and fishes the surrounding sea for blue cod. At the racecourse, where this jockey is bound to win by a whisker, mounts are prepared for a picnic race meeting. The Duke is welcomed by members of the Chatham Islands Jockey Club. At Ascot, they have a royal box. In the Chathams, it's a Duke box. First comes the Birdcage Parade. As exciting as any English Derby or New Zealand Cup, the day's programme is underway. Main event of the day is the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes, started by the Duke himself. Time for Kai. The Duke discusses the menu with Chief Cook Jack Carmo. While the food's uncovered from the Maori oven, there's time to make friends. The islanders make it a day and a feast to be remembered, and the Duke won't forget it easily either. Inside the marquee, a relaxed visitor breaks down shyness and coaxes children to share the food from his table. An informal and delightful end to his week among us. Soon, as he gives a final wave, his barge is sliding away to Britannia, which will carry him home via the Falklands. Behind, he leaves the memory of a visit small in time, but large in warmth and affection and humour. A visit that makes still stronger New Zealand's link with the British Commonwealth.